Hi folks, and welcome to the Is It Worth It for the Großtraktor, or the Krupps. I'm just gonna call this the Krupps because I can't pronounce the rest of it and my German is just too bad. Well, the reason I'm rushing out this video, first of all, is, as you can see from the Christmas tree in the background, it is Christmas Eve. I want to wish everyone a happy holidays. I know I've been away from YouTube, I know I've been away from streaming. I'm still trying to get my PC sorted out. I'm still trying to, basically get it set up so I can record. The one and only video I made on it, the quality was very, very low, so I'm changing some video options. I'm going to try and hope that this video is better quality. If it's not, I will remake this review in future and at a future date. But the reason I'm making it today, even though maybe my video software might not put out the best results, is first of all, as I say, to wish you guys a happy holidays. I hope you have an amazing vacation. I hope you have an amazing Christmas or whatever you decide to celebrate. But second, this tank is only available today, so I want to play this tank, I want to review it, and I want to get this video out today while you guys can still get your hands on it. This tank can be purchased from the gift shop only. Unfortunately, it is not available from the tech tree, and it's quite a pricey gift shop bundle. However, when you consider that the extras that they're thrown in are worth about 20 euros, basically you're going to be paying about 10 euros for this tank. So as a package, it's actually okay. It's a tier 3 German premium medium tank. Now, there is another tier 3 German premium medium tank, the PZS-35, but it basically brings the number of premium medium tanks for the Germans up to 7. I don't own the Panther 88 yet because I had to buy a new PC, but because this thing is available for one day only, I decided to buy this. So basically, yeah, if you're going to be training up German medium crews, this is just another option. So, as per usual in my reviews, let's talk about the history of the tank, and this tank thankfully does not have a lot of history. It was designed in 1929 by the Krupps company, and it was put into field trials between 1930 and 1933 before they eventually decided to scrap the prototype. In fact, there were only 2 prototypes built, so it never saw combat. It was scrapped in 1933. However, Wikipedia and Tankopedia say that the research that was done on this tank between 1930 and 1933 was actually used in the design of future German tanks, so I suppose this entire project wasn't completely wasted. What's interesting about this tank is that it is made from bog standard steel. It is not tempered steel, it is not tank armor steel, it is standard steel, and as a result the armor is not very good. As you can see here, I'll go into it a little bit more detail in a while, but this thing has absolutely no armor. But that's pretty much it for the history of the tank. So there are 2 German tier 3 premium medium tanks in the game now, and these are the only tier 3 medium tanks. So they're both German tanks, but none of the other nations have a tier 3 premium medium tank. So we're going to be comparing it directly against the PZS-35, and straight away we can see that the Krupps has 320 hit points compared to 260. Yes, this tank has a lot of hit points, but it doesn't have a lot of armor, and as a result, it kind of needs to use its hit points as an armor pool. It will take some shots. Sometimes you're going to have to go out and take a shot in order to get a shot in, but the hit points are quite nice. It surprised me. It's a lot of hit points for a tier 3 tank. It weighs 17 tons, which is slightly lighter than the PZS-35, and it gets a better engine at 250 horsepower. So basically, it's a lighter tank with a better engine than the PZS-35, and that means its top speed is much, much better. It's at 44 kilometers an hour compared to 37 kilometers an hour. But not only is that top speed faster, it means that this thing actually accelerates a little bit better. So while you will struggle to reach 44 kilometers an hour along flat ground, you will get up to around 30, 35 easily. You'll get up to 44 going down slope very, very easily. The traverse speed is 36 degrees per second, which is not as bad, or which is worse than the PZS-35s, and the turret traverse speed is exactly the same. However, I haven't noticed that big a difference between the two traverse speeds. In fact, one thing that has really impressed me about the Krupps is the fact it is very, very fast, very, very maneuverable. It actually feels faster and more maneuverable than the PZS-35 does. Like I say, this tank has absolutely no armor. You've got 14 millimeters on the front of the tank and the front of the turret, 8 millimeters on the sides and rear. Basically everything in the game that can shoot you will pen and do damage. Now I have managed to bounce a couple of shots, but not very many. So basically when something shoots at you in this tank, you are going to expect it to penetrate, and that's why you have a big hit point pool. But what this also means is HE, tanks firing HE will absolutely destroy you, and this tank can be one hit killed by a lot of tanks firing derp guns in this game. So this is my second game in this tank, and yeah, I was testing the speed, seeing whether or not I could get up to the corner, and you could see how easily that M2 Light is able to pen me. But you can also see, I'm talking about the gun in just a moment, but yes, that was an AP shell. You can know it's my second game because I'm firing AP. So now I'm in a perfect side-scraping position. And unfortunately that accuracy only tracked the Stewart. He's able to pen me, and I bounce an AP shell. Look at the angle he's able to pen me. That is perfect side scraping in a tank that looks like this. I would have expected to bounce those shots. So you can't even side scrape in this tank. I've taken 34 hits, and basically most of those 34 hits have actually gone in. You've got to remember, guys, this tank is definitely not a brawler. This is the moment in my second game where I realized that fact, and I didn't make that mistake again. You can't side scrape, you can't angle, there's no point in this tank. You've got to play it passively. The view range is identical to the PZS-35, and with equipment choices and crew skills, it can be buffed up by quite a bit. I do recommend basically buffing the view range however way or whatever way you want to do it in this tank, because you have no armor. This is not a brawler. You want to keep your distance. You want to use this as a support tank, and therefore view range is very, very important. So even though it has the same view range as the PZS-35, it is even more important that you buff this view range whatever way you can. Its signal range, however, is very, very poor, especially compared to the PZS-35. It only has 345 meters of signal range, so that means that when you are on a large map, you move to one side of the map, you are going to lose contact with all the friendly tanks on the other side of the map, and you won't have a clue what's happening. You got to watch the kill feed in order to figure out whether or not your team are winning or losing the other flank. So the view range is definitely a weak point for the Krupps. So let's take a look at this gun, and one of the things that sets the Krupps apart from a lot of other tanks is the fact it gets a 75mm at tier 3. Yes, a 75mm. It has a very, very good rate of fire of 10.91. Now, that may not be as fast as a lot of other tier 3 tanks. It's definitely not a fast firing gun, but when you consider it's a 75mm, that's quite a decent rate of fire. And because it's a 75mm gun, it means you do a lot more alpha damage. You get 110 alpha damage with the standard AP, 110 with the premium rounds, which is heat, and 175 with the high explosive. Now, the ammo choices for this gun are quite interesting, because if you notice, the standard AP's penetration is not fantastic. It's okay as a tier 3. 43, you will be able to hurt a lot of tier 3s, but I found myself bouncing quite a few shots. Whereas the HE ammo for this gun is only slightly worse. It's only got 5mm less penetration, but yet it has 175 alpha damage. So really, when you're in a tier 3 game, pretty much most of what you're going to be able to penetrate with 43 millimeters of penetration, you're also going to be able to penetrate with 38 millimeters of penetration, and you do a heck of a lot more damage. So really, I found myself firing very, very little AP in this game. I tried it and I decided, you know what, it's not worth the time. Really, when the AP and the HE are so close in penetration and the HE does so much more damage, really, there's no point in firing AP. And when you get into a higher tier game, again, 43 millimeters is just not good enough. The heat ammo is pretty good, 87 millimeters with 110 alpha damage, and you do need to fire some heat in this tank because this tank does not get special matchmaking. Yes, it's a tier 3 medium tank with no armor that will get into tier 5 games. So just like the PZ-S35, this thing will see tier 3s, tier 4s, and tier 5s. And very like the PZ-S35, the gun is very good at tier 3, okay at tier 4, and almost useless at tier 5, regardless of what ammo choices you are making. 87 millimeters of penetration can penetrate a KV-1, for example, but you need to hit weak spots, and good luck if he's angled. So the ammo choices are interesting, however, the gun is not fantastic when you consider it doesn't have special matchmaking. The accuracy on the tank is not very good at 0.55. Yeah, no armor. You're going to be using this thing as a support tank, and unfortunately, you're going to be doing a lot of sniping in this tank, a lot of support work, and a lot of shots at distance. That accuracy can let you down. Now, having said that, it's a derp gun. I fire a lot of HE in this, and for a derp gun, the accuracy was actually okay. The aim time is actually okay as well. 2.2 is probably a little bit on the low side for a tier 3. However, because you've got a rate of fire of about 11 rounds a minute, that's plenty of time to reload between shots and plenty of time to aim. So I haven't needed to buff this aim time, haven't noticed any aim time issues at all. One thing that this does not show you, however, is the shell velocity. The shell velocity for the AP, the heat, and the HE is very, very slow. So the shots will loop to the target, and it is very, very difficult to hit moving targets. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but you need to time your shots really, really well. Really, you need to fire at stationary targets to get the most out of this accuracy and most out of this gun, but the shell velocity is very, very slow. Another thing the gun stats don't show you is that this tank has very, very good gun depression and very, very good gun elevation. I was doing a lot of hill work. I was fighting on a lot of slopes because I had to use slopes due to the fact my armor was so poor. But I had absolutely no problems using this hill or using this tank on the ridges of hills, poking up, taking a shot, falling back down. No problems shooting up at tanks high above me, for example on El Halouf. Really, I don't have the exact figures for the gun depression and gun elevation because I'm trying to rush this video out, but it's very, very good. This thing is a hill warrior, especially when you consider its engine power is good, and you can basically travel up slopes at around 20 kilometers an hour. So this thing is definitely a hill warrior, but it is definitely also not a frontline warrior. So let's check out this gun in action. This is my very first game in the Großtraktor Krupps. I have no idea what to expect. At the moment, I'm quite surprised at the maneuverability. I'm doing 37, almost 40 kilometers an hour. The tank accelerates very quickly. So I decide, okay, I'm testing HE. Let's load up HE, so a tree fall. So really, I'm just testing out the gun. I tend to do this in a lot of first games in tanks. I just do silly things or go into the game planning just to test one thing. But look at this. Shot through a window. 51 damage. Now that would have been 170 damage if I'd actually penned. And I could have easily penned a cruiser too. But M3 Stewart, again, can't really pen him. Orange reticule. And we only do 28 damage, so very lucky shot. You saw the accuracy, shot went way to the right and the tank moved into it. 31 damage. So this is just me testing out the HE. Any more shots? Okay, PZ2D. And again, very, very long distance shot. Long trajectory, but I get the kill. PZ2D, gonna shoot him through a window again. It's almost like a KV2. Unfortunately, that would have hit him. If he hadn't moved, that probably would have hit him. Okay, T127 and a PZ2D. So fired before being fully aimed, shot goes high. So you can see the accuracy works or it doesn't. It's very, very like a KV2. So let's take a look at the engine again. So from a standing start, we're already up to 20 kilometers an hour. And believe it or not, I shot a blind shot on the move there. I forgot that happened. Going downhill, doing 50 kilometers an hour. Look at this, over this rough ground, we're still doing 35 up to 40 kilometers an hour. Uphill, we're doing just over 30. So PZ2D and accuracy. So we've tracked him. I'm trying to angle. Remember, this is my first game, so I don't realize that the armor is so bad on the tank. So I'm trying to aim for weak spots, trying to pen him for that 170 damage. Don't manage it. And there we go. Let the gun aim fully, take him out. Well, you'll notice we've lost a loader. And that happens. You lose a lot of crew members in this tank because everything bends you. Basically, every shot the PZ2D fired at me did damage. I also got tracked. So I'm starting to learn things. This is my first game of the tank after all. And I usually play tanks without even looking at their stats. I like to figure out what they're good at and what they're not so good at by experience. Okay, so M2, and he's on the move, and this is where I realize that shooting moving targets is not easy. Trying to time this. And you notice I haven't been spotted. The camo rating is actually very good. And that one was a complete and utter waste. Again, trying to track him. Ooh, and that one goes high. So I know there's an M2 and a PZ2D behind me. I turn around, and again, you've got the maneuverability in this tank. You accelerate up to 20 kilometers an hour very quickly. I'm already at 46 kilometers an hour. Taking a look to see where I was being penned, but the marks have disappeared. So PZ2D, distance, I've got his rear. Just need for him to be spotted again. There he is. And time that one badly. Shot goes really, really low. He gets derped by Artie. Okay, M2, I've got a green reticule, should pen, and 165 damage. So firing HE has been very successful. I've already showed you a clip of my second game in this tank where I only fired a B and was getting penned even though I was side scraping, but anyway, you can see the maneuverability again, doing 40 kilometers an hour. We can move around the battlefield so easily in this tank. It was a big surprise to me. So on 3 kills, still firing HE. I know Artie's in front of me, don't need to fire anything else. There's really nothing on the enemy team when you're top tier in a tier 3 game. There's nothing that you really need to fear. You can pretty much just fire HE. So Artie, and dead Artie. So that's 4 kills, 3 tanks left on the enemy team, and again, acceleration is very good. Ground resistance seems to be very good. And I don't have any armor. But you can see that I've lost contact. There's that signal range on the radio. There's a T-70 killing a Cruiser 3. PZ-2D killed a Panzerjäger, T-70 killed a Cruiser 1. I can't see any of that. I'm looking at the kill feed because they're out of my radio range, but I have spotted the M3 Stuart. 56. That was a little bit unfortunate. That falls short and hits 17 with splash damage. And 97, that one bends. So there's 5 kills in my very, very first game in the Großtraktor. So, a couple of games later, I'm back on Malinovka. This time it's in a Tier 4 game. And this time I'm testing out the AP. And 110, perfect roll with the AP, but I would have done 175 damage with the HE. You can see that even though it's an inaccurate gun, I was able to snipe that Valentine from so far away. This is a mini KV-2 without the armor, but only when it gets top tier. So I'm moving up, and yes, I don't have a sixth sense, so Martyr 38T hits me, D2 hits me, T28 hits me. T28 hit me for 119, that's a lot of damage. So that Grant spotted me. So I'm still on the AP for the Grant. And we'll speed it up. So I'm using my gun depression, pre-aiming with an AP shell for this Grant, and again I'm testing out the AP. I'm actually wondering whether or not I can go through his cupola. I know I'm not going to be able to penetrate his hull, so I just need him to be spotted again. So we're playing this on ×4. Oh, Martyr. And again, firing AP. Shot goes low. But look at the shell velocity. You've got to time your shots, and boom. There's a nice blind kill on a Martyr 2 when you time your shots. So I know there was a T28 down here. Okay, we'll speed it back up. So this is the Krupps in a Tier 4 game, and really I just want to spot this Grant because I want to test the ammo. There we go. So red, orange, AP is crap. Okay, so I've switched to premium. So now we're just waiting for the Grant to be spotted again. There he is. And the premium shell, 111 damage. So when you get into a Tier 4 game, occasionally you do need to fire some premium ammo. It's pretty much a lot like the PZ S35 in that regards. And then there was my first Tier 5 game, and this is the game where I realized, oh, this tank does not get special matchmaking. Oh, bugger. So I have my HE loaded, and there's a KV-1. So I should be able to shoot him without getting spotted. Nah, missed that one. Hit him for 0 damage, but his gun is pointing towards me. I don't have sixth sense. I'm using this to train up new crews. He's still looking my way. Nope, he's looking away. Nope, he's looking my way. So I have no idea whether or not I've been spotted. Lots of Tier 5s on the enemy team. And the KV-1 is in cover. Still on the HE. Oh, just a hint of a shot. And 0 damage. Side of the KV-1, 0 damage with the HE. So I switched to premium. He's angled, trying to shoot down on his engine deck or his weak spots. And he's angled, but that was a shot down onto his weak spots and 0 damage. So aiming for his weak strip, 112! So you can hit weak spots, but this gun is just not accurate. So after hitting another couple of tanks for 0 damage, anyway, we've moved up, and there's a KV-1 and he's showing me his side. So first of all, HE, misses. HE, hits and tracks, and that's something you can do, but I've got a red reticule. Again, I'm keeping him tracked with the HE. I switched to premium. I'm doing a full test here. I've got the side of a KV-1. 0 damage.
Wir haben sie nicht
0
mal
damage.
angekratzt.
Someone set him on fire.
Wir haben sie nicht
0
mal angekratzt.
damage. Let's just fire a regular AP. Keep him tracked. Nope, no need to. So yeah, even the premium ammo, you need to aim for weak spots, and kind of when you get yourself into a tier 5 game, you've got to pick on the lower tier tanks. When you're up against top tier heavies, the gun is lacking, but they will allow you to do module damage. So for example, this Stewart 1-4 is about to come around the corner. I've got my HE loaded, and I mistimed that shot. He has no problems penning me,
Kette wurde getroffen.
even
Sie
though
kann
I'm
jeden Moment
angled.
reißen.
73 damage. And I've got the turret traverse to be able to turn around, take him out. So yeah, tier 5 game. This tank really isn't all that effective, but thankfully, out of the 10 games I played, only 2 of them were tier 5 games. So let's talk about crew. And unlike the Panzer S-35, which is not a fantastic crew trainer for German tank crews because you've only got 3 crew members, the Großtraktor, or the Krupps, is the exact opposite, because instead of having 3 crew members, you've got 6. Yes, 6 crew members. This is the TOG 2 of the German line. You've got a commander, a gunner, a driver, a radio operator, and 2 loaders. And those eagle-eyed viewers out there may notice that I've got my Indian Panzer crew in here. So I've got my commander, my gunner, my driver, and my loader from my Indian Panzer crew in here, but I've also got a radio operator and a loader from my Panzer IV-H. All of these are new crews I'm training up at the moment. So basically, yeah, I'm training one entire medium tank crew and half of another medium tank crew in this tank at the same time. It seems to be a very, very good crew trainer, because when I first put these guys into the tank, my radio operator and loader were at about 40% on their first skill, and they've already climbed to 77% just from 10 games. That's something else I should mention. Usually when I would do a review, I will sit down, I will play between 20 and 35 games in whatever tank I'm reviewing in a row. You don't see me streaming, but you might see me online sometimes, and that's usually because I'm doing a whole day of playing whatever tank I'm about to review. I like to get hands-on, and I like to formulate my own opinion. So I usually play about between 20 and 35 games in one particular tank on one particular day before looking through all those replays and gathering footage for a review. Unfortunately, because I'm stuck for time today, the review is being based on my opinion of this tank after just 10 games. And I do apologize for that, but I actually think I got a pretty good opinion of this tank from 10 games, because I got into quite a few top tier games as a tier 3, I got into quite a few tier 4 games, and I got into quite a few tier 5 games. In fact, the spread between all of those tier matchmaking was about the same. I got roughly the same number of tier 5 games as I did tier 4 and tier 3 games, so I think I got a pretty good feel for the tank. But I usually play a lot more games in a tank before reviewing it, but as I say, this is a rush job, so I do apologize. So yeah, it's a very good crew trainer. So let's talk about equipment, and thankfully there aren't too many equipment choices, so let's just fly through this. A toolbox is absolutely vital on this tank, in my opinion, because your tracks are exposed. You will find yourself getting tracked a lot. If HE lands near you and splashes you, it will take off your tracks. The other problem is the tank isn't very well armored, so anything that shoots at you will pen you, and you find a lot of your modules getting knocked out very, very quickly. So if you've got a spare equipment slot, and if you have a spare toolbox, I really do recommend putting a toolbox on this tank. Even if you have a good repair crew, I really do recommend a toolbox. It saved my life more than once. An enhanced gun laying drive is potentially an option. I mean, your aim time is okay at 2.2, considering that you're only firing a shot every 6 seconds or so. That gives you plenty of time to aim between shots, especially if you're playing this as a support tank and passively. So you can put a gun laying drive on, but I think there are better pieces of equipment. Coated optics is viable. It will take your view range up an additional 33 meters, so you'll get 363 meters with coated optics. So you could possibly put coated optics on this if you're keeping the tank on the move. But trying to shoot this gun on the move, trying to play it like a traditional medium tank, really isn't that viable considering the accuracy of the gun. You're not going to be hitting too many shots on the move, and because you've got no armor, if you continually stay on the move, you just continually get spotted. I just found that the binocs were a better option for me, but it's completely up to your own playstyle. The reason I went for binocs is at tier 3 it brings me up to 421 meters of view range, and of course when I get good crew members in here I can advance that even further. It allows me to snipe with this gun, and because HE doesn't lose penetration over distance, the HE is a very viable derp gun. The accuracy doesn't seem to hurt the HE any more or less than it does a KV2, so I just find the binocs works for me, but the option is up to you. The one thing I will say is you do want to boost your view range at least by using one or both of these pieces of equipment. The view range at 330 meters is not great, and considering you don't have much armor, you really don't want to get spotted. So spot the enemy before they spot you, and go for something that improves your view range. Medium spall liner is possibility. It is a possibility, but I don't think it's worth it on this tank. I really don't. You want to stay so far back enemy tanks don't spot you. If you do get spotted, anything that shoots you will pen you. Explosions, because you've got no armor, explosions will do a heck of a lot of damage, and I don't think the benefit from having a spall liner is actually worth the equipment slot, but choice is up to you. Wet ammo rack is a possibility. When I was about 5 games into my play session with the Krupps, I had no ammo rack issues, but in at least 3 of the final 5 games my ammo rack was taken out. So I really haven't made up my mind. Wet ammo rack is a possibility, but I suppose 3 out of 10 games really isn't enough to draw an opinion. If you do decide to buy this tank, then possibly a wet ammo rack is viable, but I really can't give you an answer on this one. Improved vents, again, plus 5% to all crew skills, and there aren't very many viable equipment choices in my opinion for this tank, so yes, I went for improved vents. It improves my view range, it improves my aim time, it improves my accuracy, my traverse, it pretty much improves everything. And finally, a camo net is completely viable. If you might choose to remove a toolbox, use a camo net, or remove the vents and use a camo net instead. And play this thing very, very passively. Especially when you get into tier 5 games, there's no playing aggressively in a tier 5 game. Camo net and binocs are completely viable pieces of equipment. So not too many, that's just my opinion, but as per usual, the option is up to you as to how you play the tank. Okay folks, time for the overview game, a game where I try and show you as many strengths and weaknesses of whatever tank I'm reviewing in one replay, and we are here on Corellia. It is a tier 3 game. I am top tier, thankfully. That's where this tank likes to be, and I'm up against a PZS-35 on the enemy team, so battle of the cousins. And you can see, even on the rough swampy ground, I am getting into position really quickly. This tank is incredibly maneuverable. Look out how well it moves through this rough swampy ground. So first victim is spotted, got a pre-aim, and look at that. You really do need to time your shots. It takes a little bit of practice, and that one unfortunately misses, but 196 damage with the first shot. So I continue to move forward. There's a BT-7 up here. The PZ-2D is dead, and I'm going to be using my gun depression. I'm going to be using... There we go. Look at this gun depression. Unfortunately, I hit tracks. You really got to time your shots with the slow shell trajectory. Oop. PZ-2D gets taken out by RT, and now a cruiser appears from nowhere. Causes me to miss a shot. Oh, what the... No. Yeah, we'll go for the cruiser. 158. So moving forward, cruiser seems to be ignoring me, miss a shot on the move on the Stuart. He gets away, BT-7, 23 damage. Disappointing. And I actually managed to bounce a shot. So now a Chi has appeared, but I'm continuing to use the slope, continuing to use this gun depression. He stops. He stops just as I fire. And again, I'm giving these guys nothing to shoot at. Cruiser. And there we go. Only a 1 hit point kill, but it's a kill. That's my first kill of the game. So Chiha, and again, firing before being fully aimed, not accurate. You have to let the gun fully aim. But we take him out for kill number 2. Here's the BT-7. And there's kill number 3. And if you look at the mini-map, we've pretty much abandoned the other flank, so now I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have to turn around and deal with whatever's coming around the other flank. And again, look at this maneuverability. I think this demonstrates it. I am doing 35, 36 kilometers an hour. Look at this rough ground. Someone's taking shots at me. But even though we're on really, really difficult terrain, we're still doing 35 kilometers an hour. This tank has fantastic ground resistance. So I'm moving up. I'm thinking the enemy team are going to charge around the corner. Su-76 behind me, and he's, in my opinion, a very dangerous tank, so I kind of want to help our Martyr 2. And I'm trying to decide, do I go left, do I go right, do I help the Martyr 2? Stuart falls back. Is he going to poke? Nope, he's not going to poke. Our BT-7 is doing a very good job on the corner defending. Ooh, have a shot in the SU. And he moves into cover. Okay, Stuart is back. There's a PC-3A. And again, shooting on the move, not recommended on this tank. The shell velocity is so slow and the accuracy is so poor. So our team actually defended this flank really, really well. 2 tanks over here, T-46. And we take him out for kill number 4. A little bit of kill stealing going on, but really low tier games. Again, shooting on the move, not that accurate. I'm testing the tank. Another shot on the move, 125 damage. So I'm trying to turn around, and okay, just got rammed. First damage I've taken all game, and it's a ram by my own team. So 3 tanks left on the enemy team. I'm on 5 kills. Oh, Su-76, I can pin him, and 155 damage. I'm only firing HE, guys. And when you're in a tier 3 game, that's all you need. There's Top Gun. 2 tanks left on the enemy team. And again, we're using our maneuverability. So, I did show you some clips from tier 4 and tier 5 games where the tank really isn't that effective, but really the message I want to get across is this is a fun tank to play. I've had a lot of fun playing this tank, even though it got a little bit frustrating now and again in higher tier games. I still had fun in those games. So you can see, again, across this swamp we're doing 35 kilometers an hour. Just have a hint of a shot in the Su-76. Not much to aim at. And KV-2 accuracy, not quite there. Alright. PZ-2D, another low hit kill. I seem to be snapping up all the kill steals. But heck, when it happens, it happens. It's not as if it was planned. It's not as if I'm holding my shots to get kills. So again, shooting on the move, not a great idea. But we're able to hunt down this PZ-2D. Oh, there he is. Letting it aim as long as I can, and there we go, there's kill number 7. So I know just 1 tank left, it's Artie. Don't know whether or not my blind shots actually did any damage to him. If they'd hit, they probably would have 1-hit killed him. But again, we're using this slope, we're using this gun depression, and look at this. I hit his gun mantlet for 76, unfortunately, so just need to finish him off. And there we go, there's kill number 8 in one of my first games in the tank. So yeah, this is a very, very fun tank to play when you get top tier, and even when you get it into a tier 4 game, when you play it passively, it can be a lot of fun. Not so much in a tier 5 game, but at least you can still do a little bit of something in a tier 5 game, although it can get frustrating. So unfortunately, what replays doesn't allow me to upload Großtraktor Krupp replays yet. But as you can see, it was my ace tanker, the first ace tanker in the tank. I did pick up another couple, so I might bring you another ace tanker game sometime in the future. But yeah, first ace tanker in this tank, and we also picked up a top gun, even though we picked up 8 kills, and you can see we did 1,000 damage, even though I was kill stealing, but it still worked out at about 110 damage per tank per kill, so I can't really complain that much, and almost 1,300 XP. And you can see that the Großtraktor Krupp is actually a moneymaker. Even though I fired 26 shots, my ammo costs only came to 988, and I earned 30,000 credits with a premium account. That would have been 20,000 credits with a standard account. So as long as you're firing HE, it's a moneymaker. Although I've got a feeling if you're firing a lot of premium ammo in maybe a tier 5 game, it won't be quite as good. Okay folks, time to sum up. If you decide to buy the Großtraktor Krupp today, or decide to pick it up in future, and I'm sure it's going to be available in future, is it worth it? Well, the package itself is actually worth it. The tank comes out at around €10, so that you can't really complain about the price as long as you want gold and the premium time. If you don't need gold or premium time, then it's a little bit pricey. But the tank is fun to play. I mean, it's got a lot of positives. It's got a lot of hit points for a tier 3. It's very, very fast, very, very maneuverable, and has fantastic terrain resistance. It has really, really good gun depression, very, very good gun elevation. It is an absolutely amazing crew trainer. You can train up 1.5 tank crews in this tank. It's got okay view range. The signal range, however, is a little bit of a negative, and there are some negatives. I mean, its matchmaking really, really hurts the tank. It doesn't have special matchmaking. It will see tier 5s. It has next to no armor, and that means that you basically will be hit and penned by pretty much everything that shoots at you, and anything firing derp guns at you is going to one-hit kill you. The gun is full of positives and negatives as well. The rate of fire is good. The alpha damage is very, very nice. If you're only firing HE, the DPM can be quite good on the tank. When you're firing the heat ammo or the premium ammo, again, the DPM is not bad. I think the AP is a complete waste of time on the tank. What it means is you can do a job. It's amazing at tier 3. You can do a job in tier 4, and at tier 5 it's a little bit lacking, but at least I feel you can do a little bit more in this tank than I could in a PZ S35 in a tier 5 game. The accuracy on paper is really, really poor, but as you saw from the demonstrations I've been giving you, the accuracy is very, very Russian-like. It's almost like a KV2. You can pull off some amazing shots, but at the same time you'll miss some shots that you could have sworn were perfectly aimed. The aim time is okay, but the shell velocity is a big negative for the tank. If you are a new or inexperienced player, the fact it has no armor and the fact it's got really, really poor shell trajectory is going to make this tank very, very tricky to play. I think this is a tank that kind of suits people who are a little bit more experienced. However, because it can be played, and I do recommend you play it passively, it might suit someone who is new to the game, but I wouldn't class this as a must-buy as a first tier 3 premium tank. So it requires a little bit of practice, it requires some equipment, and it requires a half-decent crew. Of course, with a 75% crew or 50% crew, this tank would perform much, much worse. I am playing it with a 100% crew, although they don't have their first crew skill yet. So yeah, I think this tank is a little bit more fun to play than the S35, but then again, I love my derp guns. I think I would rather play it because it's a better crew trainer, and because I feel I could do a little bit more in a Tier 5 game than I could in an S35. And although my match sample of games wasn't that big for a review, it's much smaller than it usually is, I found I didn't get into that many Tier 5 games compared to the S35, where basically every second or third game seemed to be a Tier 5 game. So really, yeah, is it worth it? Yeah, it's probably worth it, folks. I don't think it's good for an inexperienced player. If you are relatively new to the game or inexperienced, yeah, don't be tempted to buy this tank. Pick it up sometime in the future when you've gotten more experienced at the game. But for an experienced player who enjoys turp guns, who enjoys running around and just messing around, yeah, and for someone who wants to train up a lot of German medium crews, I think it's a pretty good tank. And that's pretty much it. I think the matchmaking's a little bit frustrating, but the tank is a lot of fun to play when you don't get it into Tier 5 games. Anyway, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. I want to wish everyone a happy holidays regardless, and I hope the quality of the video is okay. As I say, if the quality doesn't turn out the way I want, I'll probably remake this at a later stage. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.